After being shut out of family gatherings for an entire decade, they finally came knocking at the front door of the house I built with my own hands. The moment they stepped inside, I saw the color drain from their faces. Then I delivered the words I had waited 10 years to say. They were stunned, but what truly broke their composure was the truth I revealed next. Something that shattered the perfect picture they had painted of our family history. Hi Reddit. This is a story of rejection, resilience, and poetic justice. A decade ago, I sat alone on the porch of the house I grew up in. Through the window, I could see my parents and siblings gathered inside, laughing around the dinner table at our annual family reunion. I wasn't invited. Not even a text. I hadn't done anything to deserve it. No betrayal, no outburst, no falling out. I just didn't check the boxes of their ideal child. While my older brother Darren was celebrated for becoming a lawyer, and my younger sister Naomi was doted on as the future doctor, I had chosen a different path. I became a carpenter. I loved everything about it. From the scent of fresh sawdust to the deep satisfaction of shaping raw wood into something useful and beautiful. But in their eyes, I was a disappointment. An embarrassment. The family secret no one wanted to mention. At first, it was subtle. Invitations that came late. Birthdays conveniently forgotten. Offhand remarks about how much potential I had wasted. Then one year, I didn't even know the reunion had happened, until a cousin's accidental Facebook tag showed everyone gathered, laughing in front of a holiday spread. I called my mom, trying to make sense of it. She just sighed and said, "We thought maybe it'd be too awkward for you." Too awkward. I wasn't a guest. I was family. Or at least, I thought I was. I tried to shake it off. Maybe I really was the odd one out. But it didn't stop. Every year brought new photos I wasn't in, group chats I wasn't added to, milestones I wasn't invited to witness. Eventually, I stopped reaching out, and no one reached back. I moved to a quiet town 2 hours away, where no one knew me as the one they left out. I threw myself into my work, custom furniture, small repair jobs, slowly building my own clientele. Then, opportunity knocked. A boutique hotel owner hired me to design a series of themed luxury rooms. My work took off. Social media buzz, magazine features, even a small TV interview. In just a few years, I went from scraping by to thriving. I bought land and built my dream home from the ground up. Every joint, every finish, every plank was done by me. It wasn't just a house, it was proof that I had worth, that I had built something no one could take away. Still, I stayed silent, not out of spite, but for peace. Occasionally, I'd see a like or a vague comment from them on my business page. "Proud of you," they'd write, as if that could erase a decade of being ignored. I never replied. Then, 2 months before Christmas, I got a message from Darren. "Hey, Mom was wondering if you'd be open to hosting this year's reunion. Your place looks amazing." I stared at that message. After 10 years of silence, exclusion, and dismissal, they wanted to use my home for their picture-perfect gathering. No apology, no recognition of the pain they caused. Just a request, like it was no big deal. I didn't respond. Instead, I made a plan. On Christmas Eve, as the sun dipped below the horizon, I turned on the lights of the massive tree I built from reclaimed barnwood. I baked my grandmother's cinnamon rolls from memory. I set the dining table with handcrafted dishes and polished cutlery. Then I invited one guest, Mr. Hampton, my late grandfather's best friend. He had always made me feel like I mattered, even when my own family didn't. We sat together, ate slowly, and talked about life, woodworking, and old memories. It wasn't loud, but it was full. Then came the knock. I opened the door to see them all. My parents, Darren and Naomi, their spouses. even cousins I hadn't spoken to in years, all smiling nervously, holding a pie from the store like it could smooth everything over. Naomi stepped in first, looking around. "This place is incredible." Darren gave a low whistle. "Didn't know woodworking paid like this." My mother's eyes scanned the room, trailing across the beams, the floors, the furniture, all made by the son she thought wasn't worth inviting. "You've really done well, sweetheart," my mother said, scanning the room like she owned it. "We thought maybe we could all spend the evening here, like the old days." I didn't blink. Old days? There were no old days for me. Not the kind they remembered. I was never part of them. My father cleared his throat awkwardly. "Let's not dig up the past. Tonight should be about family." I stepped aside just enough for them to see inside. Soft firelight flickering, Mr. Hampton chuckling at something I'd said, plates still warm on the table. Then I said it, calm and direct. "You're not staying." My mother looked stunned. "What do you mean?" "You walked away from me for 10 years. No phone calls, no check-ins, not a single visit. You shut the door on me when I needed you most. And now that you see what I've built, suddenly I'm worth your time." I looked each of them in the eye. This night is for the people who never left, not the ones who only show up when there's something to gain. Their faces fell. Darren opened his mouth, then closed it again, unsure what to say. Naomi's eyes dropped to the floor. Even my father, always so composed, gave a silent nod that felt almost like guilt. I continued, steady. "It was never about my job. You didn't lose me because I became a carpenter. You lost me because you treated me like I didn't belong. And now? Now it's too late." I closed the door, not in anger, but in peace. Inside, Mr. Hampton raised his glass. "To the family you make." I smiled and raised mine. "To building what lasts." The silence that followed wasn't heavy. It was liberating. For the first time in years, I had said what needed to be said. No yelling, no drama, just the truth, finally spoken out loud. But of course, they didn't take it well. The next morning, my phone lit up with missed calls and a string of texts. Even emails. My mother's voicemail was tight and quivering, caught between blame and desperation. "I don't know what you think this proves, but that's not how family works. You don't just slam the door on your own blood." I didn't reply. Next came the guilt trip. Naomi sent a long message, full of emotional appeals about how families make mistakes, and how shutting people out was just as cruel as excluding someone. Darren's message followed, full of classic avoidance. "You've always been too sensitive. That's why we didn't include you. It was just easier. Easier for them." This wasn't a heartfelt attempt to rebuild a relationship. It was damage control, a way to edit the past without facing it. They didn't want me. They wanted to be seen beside the success I had become. The handcrafted house, the local respect. Their cast-off had become something they could brag about. And now, they wanted to pretend they believed in me all along. But I wasn't going to help them rewrite history. The real blowback started when Naomi posted a cryptic status. When you try to make peace and get shut out by your own sibling, the pain is unreal. Cue the chorus of sympathetic friends who had no idea what really happened. I ignored it, until my aunt, who had remained quiet through the years, messaged me privately. "I saw Naomi's post. I'm not taking sides, but for what it's worth, I think you were right to say what you said." That hit harder than I expected. For a split second, I wondered, was I too harsh? Had I become the kind of person I once resented? But then I remembered all the lonely birthdays, the unanswered messages, the family photos I only saw after the fact, always from a distance. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just finished carrying a burden that was never mine. I turned my focus back to the life I had built. Business was booming, booked months out, with new clients coming through word of mouth and local media coverage. Not because I shouted the loudest, but because the work stood on its own. And more than that, I found something greater. I started mentoring teenagers in town, kids who'd been told they weren't smart enough, or good enough, or college material. I saw pieces of my younger self in them. Quiet, overlooked, capable of everything. If someone just believed in them, that became my real family, the one I chose. Meanwhile, my birth family continued spiraling. Naomi posted another vague dig. Funny how some people think success gives them the right to be arrogant and heartless. The comments piled in. Sympathy, outrage, misplaced loyalty. I said nothing, because I didn't need to explain myself anymore. Not to them. Not to anyone. I wasn't just building furniture anymore. I was building a life that didn't need their approval. Darren sent me a lengthy email, trying to cast himself as the peacemaker who always wanted me included. And my mother? Eventually, she sent a Christmas card with a handwritten note inside. Come home when you're ready to be part of the family again. But I was already home. I'd built that home myself, with sweat, patience, and my own 2 hands. The biggest change came unexpectedly one evening with a knock at the door. Not from them. From someone I hadn't seen in more than 15 years, my cousin Rachel. She looked older, worn, but sincere. No rehearsed apologies, no platitudes, just honesty. I was there, she whispered. All those years, I watched them erase you from everything. And I stayed quiet. I shouldn't have. We talked for hours. She told me how uncomfortable it made her when they left me out of conversations. How she once tried to speak up but was told to drop it. It's his choice to isolate himself, they said. She believed that, for a while. Until she didn't. I want you to know, she said. You weren't imagining it. You were wronged. And I'm sorry I didn't stand up for you. That moment didn't fix everything. But it mattered. It meant I wasn't alone. That someone had seen the truth, even if they stayed silent. In the months that followed, I kept growing, personally, professionally, emotionally. I wasn't trying to prove anything anymore. I was simply living on my own terms. Then came a twist I never expected. One early spring evening, I received a letter in the mail. Formal, stamped, legal. I opened it and felt my stomach drop. My father had died. It wasn't sudden. He'd been ill for a long time, but no one thought to tell me. The letter wasn't from family. It was from his lawyer. My name was on it, because he'd left me something. Not money, not property. A journal. Inside, his handwriting, stiff, faded, unmistakably his. And what I read changed everything I thought I knew about him and our past. It planted the seed for the final chapter of this story. I held the journal for nearly an hour before opening it. Weathered leather cover, edges worn by time. His name written across the inside flap. And beneath it, one date. October 2008. The year everything began to unravel. As I turned the pages, I realized it was more than a diary. It was a confession. Page after page, he detailed the fractures in our family. The pressure to maintain appearances. The perfect family, the successful kids, the illusion of harmony. He admitted that when I chose carpentry over college, he panicked. Not out of hatred, but fear. I didn't know how to protect you, one entry read. I thought if I ignored it, pushed you aside, you'd come back. I was wrong. Every time I shut you out, I broke something inside myself too. There was pain in his words. Regret, but also cowardice. He'd chosen silence over love, image over truth, and carried that burden to the grave. The last entry hit hardest of all. If you're reading this, I'm gone. I know I have no right to ask anything of you. But I left this because you deserve to be heard. You deserve better. and you deserve to decide what happens next." Those words echoed inside me for days. I didn't attend the funeral. Naomi made sure to post elegant black and white photos on social media. Tears hidden behind designer sunglasses, Darren solemn at the podium. It was a performance, and I wanted no part of it. But I made a choice. A week later, I mailed a letter to my mother's house. Handwritten, sealed. Inside, I included a copy of my father's last journal entry. No commentary, no accusations, just the truth he had finally shared. Underneath, I wrote one line. "You shut me out for 10 years. Let this remind you I was never gone. You just refused to look." That should have been the end. But life rarely offers tidy conclusions. 2 months later, Naomi showed up at my workshop. No call, no warning, just walked in as if she hadn't blocked me for a decade. "I read it," she said quietly. I looked up from the chair I was finishing. "So?" I didn't know he felt that way. I set my tools down and stood. "Did it change how you see things?" She paused, and that silence spoke louder than words. "I'm not here asking for forgiveness," she said. "I came because I think he wanted us to stop pretending. And I don't want to anymore. You have every right to hate me. But I'm not here to rewrite history. I just want to be honest." And she was. She spoke about the jealousy. How I seemed free while they felt trapped by expectations. How my absence made them guilty, so they disguised it with coldness. How success made me a threat instead of a brother. She owned it all, and for the first time, it felt real. I didn't hug her. I didn't break down. I listened. When she finished, I said simply, "I appreciate your honesty. It doesn't erase the past, but it means we can stop lying." She nodded. "That's enough for me." We didn't grow close after that. But we found honesty, more than I ever expected. As for Darren, he never reached out. Not even after learning about the journal. He stayed silent, like always, letting silence guard his pride. I didn't chase closure with him. Some people only understand loss when they have nothing left to hold on to. I had already moved on. The true final moment came the next Christmas. My house was full, not with my birth family, but with those who had become my true family. Mr. Hampton, Rachel, the young apprentices I mentored, neighbors who had become friends. We laughed, we ate, we shared stories, and in a quiet moment by the fire, I looked around the room I had built with my own hands. No words were needed, but I thought it loud and clear. I wasn't the black sheep. I was simply the first to walk away from the herd. And in doing so, I found something far better than acceptance. I found peace. In the end, I didn't need their apologies, or their approval, or even their understanding. I built a life with people who saw me for who I truly am. And when the time came, I didn't have to shout. I simply showed them what they chose to discard. That was my revenge. And it was more than enough.